Oh, well, how do I follow with that one? I guess usually I did the Simpsons couch jag, but for whatever reason, it reminds me of the movie The Shining, where Jack Nicholson breaks in and says, "Here's Johnny." And there are times where I've said I could probably do Jack Nicholson impressions pretty well, looking enough like him. Yeah, there we go. All right, and I actually have regular scheduled jokes to do, so I should get to them or stories to tell. I had other comics talk about it before, where there's a lot of material to be found on Facebook, and sometimes they keep Facebook friends around because they have jokes to write. That might be true for me as well, but in my case, it's some Facebook groups. Where over the weekend, the Facebook singles group is still trying to talk about being single, even though it's kind of hard to date when the virus means most public places are closed. But people can still type at home, I guess. And one of them gave you two options, and it was ridiculous because neither one has ever been offered to me and most people probably. It said, would you be willing to take 50 grand not to take your ex back, or 2 million to take your ex back? And I said, I didn't know that somebody was willing to pay me back for my failed relationships. It's like, of course I'll take 50 grand, but I mean, who's going to offer that? I mean, some of these things, it's like, no, I don't know where people think up these hypothetical situations. Back in college, I would say I don't answer hypothetical questions. Yeah, but well, that's a completely different story that I should probably not get into because I have an agenda. Uh, well, I know I read a blog, so that helps remind me of what has happened in the past week. Just the titles on the entries. With one of them, it's like, wow, I know sometimes you see wildlife in my neighborhood because there can be wooded areas in St. Paul. But usually I just see turkeys. This time it wasn't a turkey, it was a deer, and probably a doe because I didn't see antlers or anything like that. And I was just out on my nightly walk, and it made me turn around and try to go back and get a picture. And there was a lady in a sedan that was stopped at a sign right by the deer, and when she turned left, leaving the intersection, she said, I tried to get it too. Must have been a picture. Yeah, I couldn't get the picture in time because the deer just ran back into the woods. And for those who know St. Paul, it was really weird. What bank was the deer in front of? Deerwood Bank. It's like, was it trying to find a picture? I don't know. But that really would have been a cool picture to get. I guess if I was a professional photographer and had a camera with a better zoom lens, I might have gotten one right away. But I know how it's limited windows opportunity on some of these things. And I know I'm the type that will pick up trash and nobody else will. That leads me to the next story. I get tired of seeing a mattress that was just on the grass next to the road, often where I would park by. So it's like, well, I finally did something about it. I got out my gloves and I moved the mattress end over end into the nearest dumpster, which wasn't very far. So it's like, yay, now it's done. But I just can't believe how many lazy people are out there that don't bother to use dumpsters and didn't bother to do it before I did. I mean, it sat there for a while. But I know that's even what you see at bus stops, where there's always a lot of trash at bus stops. People are just too lazy to use the trash bins there as well. Uh, and I have a post office, but yeah, I'm not always big on transitions. I have a post office box for my eBay and Amazon orders, and that means once a week I have to go to the post office. But it can be fun because I see a loopy employee there that's always telling jokes. And I'm sure that he knows by now that I'm going to use some of that material that he gives me. But hey, I don't mind he's loopy. He still knows his stuff. So, I mean, hey, it's a good icebreaker. And this time he asked me, what, you just got out of prison? It's like, no. But it's part for the course, and some things he'll say when he'll greet me. And then once he got what I was looking for, he said, "You know what day it is?" I said, "Well, it's Saturday, a week before 4th of July, Independence Day." He said, "No, it's Tip Your Postal Worker Day." And it's like, okay, I can think of the pun on this one. The tip I gave him wasn't money. It was keep telling jokes. And then he tipped his cap to me. So it's like, well, I guess I got him on that one. And I know another time I noticed that his name on his name tag changed. And it's like, what happened? You got adopted. So I still call him by both names because I knew the other name first. It was a 2-movie weekend for me. I don't know what else to do entertainment-wise when I like baseball games and museums, and those are not available right now.
Yeah.
And I know that if baseball happens at all this year, that it's probably going to be a fan ban, so what's the point? Not buying tickets. So I got a Redbox movie, one called Arkansas. It was a drug runner movie. John Malkovich is in it. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say there was a body count. It was about drug running, people. Things are usually illegal because they're dangerous. But I know another takeaway from the movie was the music in it. I, for the first time, might have heard about a band called Flaming Lips. And they did covers of country music standards that I'd heard of. And it's like, all right, that works for me. Like, Stop Loving Her, All the Gold, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places, and Country Boy Can Survive.
Yeah.
And then it was also notable that one of those songs was played on an 8-track. It's like, all right, now that was still weird on how they got an 8-track into a movie that was just released this year. That's kind of a stretch, unless it's a case of hipsters want to bring 8-tracks back too, like they did LP records. I don't know. I do remember 8-tracks though. When I first heard Beatles music, it was on my parents' 8-tracks. Eleanor Rigby, my favorite Beatles song. I think that says a lot about me. At age 12, I knew something about loneliness, and that's what that song is about. But it was still funny to him explain the concept of an 8-track to somebody who had never seen it.
Yeah.
Kind of like another movie, Sisters Brothers, that John C. Reilly was in, where they explained to him how to use a toothbrush because it was a Western movie, and I guess toothbrushes were still not very common back then. And then the other movie I saw was Harold and Kumar, the first one about going to White Castle. Why did I see that one? Because the trainer at my new job kept telling me you should see this movie. And there is a video store close to where I work, so I was able to get it there even though the libraries are closed. It's like, well, I guess it's all right. It's like he was telling me about the movie series, and it's like, well, all right. In this one, they go to White Castle, and another one, they want to go to Eastern. And it's like, yeah, I went to college in Iowa City. I was saying that probably means they're stoners. I was right. It's like, okay, now I know what I'm getting into. I mean, it was a farce. I mean, ridiculous, unlikely. On some level, it worked for me. I'm just trying to think of how. But at least I understand why people would talk about that particular movie. I know that if it was from 2004, that was the year I moved to Minnesota, and that was a weird year for me. I said, life begins at 30. My life was only beginning, I realized, not ending. All right, we'll end with one about going to the grocery store. That's one thing I really look forward to now because I'm getting out, driving my car to the Hy-Vee in Egan. And it's really weird what I'm noticing now when I do self-checkout and look at the receipts, how it can be so different on sales taxes. This week it was the candy bars. Reese's Peanut Butter had sales tax on it, but not Kit Kat, made by the same company, Hershey, and in the same section, and one has sales tax and the other does not. Just like what I discovered before with potato chips and tortilla chips. The Ruffles had sales tax, but not the Doritos. Go figure. I don't get it. I like the Reese's Peanut Butter, so I'm fine with paying the sales tax on that, but still doesn't make sense. And it's like, well, I guess it must be because it's considered to be junk food, even though you still eat it. That's all I can think of. I already know that sparkling water has sales tax, but hey, I want flavor in my water, so I'm fine with paying the sales tax on that too. It's not much. So there's my rant about taxes. I know a lot of people like to rant about that. So that'll do it for me. Thank you. You've all been great.